All right, everybody. Thank you for joining Reality's Breakdown tonight with the Heretic Clerics. We're going to be talking about nonprofit organizations. Tonight we have Matt, the Apoplectic Atheist, and the Iron Chariot, and myself to talk about nonprofit organizations, secular nonprofits. That white square down at the bottom is Sir Juilot. He's experiencing a couple of technical difficulties. It's the ghost of Sir Juilot, and he's haunting this show. So what's going to happen is tonight he's going to chime in the chat if he can't get his stuff resolved, and he's going to attend that way. All right. Make sure you stick around for the Atheist Spotlight near the end of the show. Tonight, I, the Belligerent Atheist, am going to be hosting. And there are a multitude of organizations out there that are a support to everybody. There are some that are canted one way or another, and tonight we're going to talk about those that are secular or humanist or atheist in nature, ones that are not specifically devoted to religion, and in many cases actually supporting those moving from religion. So what I'd like to talk about right now is some of the voting members of the Secular Coalition for America. These are the National 501c3, so it's a nonprofit, cooperating within the coalition for the greater good of all non-theistic citizens. The first one is the Atheist Alliance of America. One of the founders, Atheist Alliance of America, is a nonprofit umbrella organization. They support democratic local affiliates to project a positive voice for atheism through community activism. They kind of speak out against various things, get people motivated to talk about subjects. They began in 1991 as Atheist Alliance and then evolved into two separate organizations over time. The AAA, that's the U.S. focus, and then the Global Atheist Alliance International focus. So they got kind of big and they broke out. Now, another founder of the Secular Coalition for America is the Institute for Humanist Studies. They're a think tank. They're committed to gathering information and practices within humanism. They address the socio-political, economic, and cultural challenges facing communities within the United States and within the global context. Such information and practices will include sponsored research to address questions and concern within humanism and non-theism, as well as published books and colloquiums and articles to articulate our determinations. The Institute of Humanist Studies views humanism as having the moral imperative to extend the circle of justice, care, and concern to all. So it's not, they want to extend focus and justice to everybody rather than just, the elite few. You know what I mean? They're really about equality, and that's kind of what they're standing out for. Also, I forgot to mention earlier for any of our viewers that every single link to all these organizations are already in the description below. So you can check out right now. I'm visiting the first link, which is actually the Secular Coalition for America. If you go to that link, you'll see the organizations I'm talking about, and every single organization is denoted below that in its own website. You can click the links and follow that. The next one I want to talk about was Secular Student Alliance. They organize, unite, educate, and they serve students in the student communities. There's a lot of organizations. You have a lot of your Greek organizations, your fraternities, your sororities, but the Secular Student Alliance is a resource for secular students to talk about human-based ethics. They promote the ideals of scientific and critical inquiry, democracy, secularism, humanism. They were founded in 2000. The Secular Student Alliance supports a rapidly growing network of over 350, current count, atheist, agnostic, and humanist groups on high school and college campuses. So the few that I've gone over, the Atheist Alliance of America, the Institute of Humanist Studies, and the Secular Student Alliance, are just three so far. Major resources for those that are not religious in a majorly religious society. And it's important that all these web addresses. If you see any of them that we're talking about, you want to visit them. They may help you. You might need some of their assistance. You might know someone that needs some of this assistance. They're just great resources out there. You know, the atheist community is a community. We're a large extended family. Where we work with each other, for each other, and you're not just all out there to yourself. I've heard many theists discuss that they are afraid to leave the church because of the community and the family. Well, I don't see the atheist community or the YouTube atheist community or the secular community as a community of non-support. I see a very large amount of support in the community and very welcoming individuals, answer questions. You're always going to have the individuals that are very standoffish. You're always going to have those people, I mean, in any group. But I would like to think that as a larger whole, to include the individuals here tonight, are very welcoming and informational when it comes to religion and being non-religious and non-theistic. A couple more members of the Secular Coalition for America is the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers. We discussed before about there are no such things as foxhole atheists, is one of the things that the chaplains of the Department of Defense kind of tote as a funny little saying, but it's not true. I mean, myself and many other people were foxhole atheists, and I wish I would have known about the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers, because there were many times where I felt alone. You know, everyone led prayer, everyone would bow their heads and pray, and I would be the one of 2 or 3 people that were looking straight ahead, or were looking around and weren't participating. And they're all about building a community for atheists and humanists in the military, and they fight discrimination, which is a big part of it. The military has adopted over a long period of time this very spiritual concept, and they kind of fight the anti-non-religious attitude, the stigma of being an open atheist in the military, since there is one. And they connect service members in need with national secular community. So they connect people, they connect some of the military members that are secular with a whole bunch of other resources, like some of the other organizations that we've talked about, or even the FFRF, if need be. And the FFRF, they're a huge nonprofit. I don't even have to really introduce them. But since 1978, they have acted on countless violations of the separation of church and state. And they've taken and won many significant complaints and important lawsuits to end the state-church entanglements. That's their thing. You know, they're one large organization bringing a voice to those that otherwise would themselves be voiceless due to the stigma that we have in our society. And it's resources like the 6 that I've talked about, the Atheist Alliance of America, the Institute for Humanist Studies, the Secular Student Alliance, the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers, Recovering from Religion, and Freedom from Religion Foundation. Those 6 organizations help people recover from religion that have previously been religious and have questions, all the way from one side of the spectrum to the other. And I think that these are just great resources. And it's not the only ones. It's not an all-inclusive list that I've provided, but there's just so many resources out there if you want to be charitable for disaster relief, or you want to do some of those other things. You want to help other people. You want to get in contact with atheists that may be suicidal. Maybe they're depressed because they feel alone. You know, these are all resources for them to get the help that they need and to be supported in a way that is comforting. You know, it's just there are so many assets out there that I think it's very important that we as a community continue to proliferate amongst the rest of the community and champion and banner these things. You know, what do you think, Matt? We have. I was just going to read what the Ghost of St. Julot said.
I thought that might come up later based on the spotlight, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good thought. Well, what do you...
I was just typing that, actually. So I wanted to say, as far as support for a community, I wanted to bring up a couple quick stories and people that I was mentioning earlier before we started the show. There's Rebecca Vitzman, who was caught in a tornado in Oklahoma. She was on the news. But anyway, she became an employee of the Foundation Beyond Belief as a disaster recovery coordinator. That's pretty cool. Her story's kind of starts out kind of funny and then gets serious, and then it's pretty cool that she got a job out of it, and she has, now has firsthand experience in disaster situations. But the other one I wanted to mention too was Nate Phelps is now involved with the Recovering from Religion Foundation, and they're working together to make apparently a documentary about him. And I was just reading that it's going to be on PBS and Netflix and potentially shown in schools and stuff like that. So that's another pretty cool thing. And Nate Phelps is obviously the son of Fred Phelps, part of the Westboro Baptist Church, and he is in fact an atheist and a LGBT supporter. And so yeah, I mean, as BA was saying, there's massive amounts of community. It's just we may not be brick and mortar. We may not have churches in place, but we are out there and we are looking to help people. So.
There are some atheist churches, or the Sunday Assembly of Secularism, depending on which one it is. I think that's another topic. But no, there are other resources out there.
I think it's just when there's not that many of them. People just feel like there's no physical place to turn, like a place to go. There's just not that many of those type of buildings, but. I wish there was. Believe me, I wish there was.
Right. I would love to buy up every single church in the corner of the South and turn it into a secular community center.
This giant church went up like down the street from me, and they leave a flyer on my door like all the time. And whenever I drive by, I just give them an evil look, man. All right. I'll be honest. I'm jealous. I wish we could have something like that. But.
No, I think that our movement is definitely more virtual. It's not necessarily as physical a movement, and that's probably due to the geographic restrictions on some of us. Being in the South, especially, there's not there is a growing number of free thinkers, but they are not huge. So having get-togethers, some of these organizations, or their groups on Facebook too. There are groups on Facebook that highlight that. You can actually just search for them. Iron, did you want to weigh in? Or weigh in, not weigh in. I can't believe I said that.
Well, I can weigh in or weigh in or however you want me to get in. But, yeah, actually, I just wanted to comment on a little something different that you mentioned before about people being afraid to leave the church because of the community and the family feel and everything. And I would submit that the atheist community is bigger and more family-oriented than any religious community, simply because when you're involved in a religious community or family, you're restricted to the members of that community that believe what you believe. And while there are atheists that have different beliefs, our worldview is generally the same, and so you're not confined to someone or a group of people from a certain location or region, and that kind of plays into what you were saying about our movement being more virtual. I think that because atheists share the same basic beliefs, no matter where we may differ, it's a worldwide community as opposed to a region community or a denominational community.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, even if you go to a brick and mortar church, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself to that church, and they all look at the other churches like they're wrong. Like, for example, the Jehovah's Witnesses. You know what I mean? Like, it's not every day you'll see Jehovah's Witnesses go hang out at another church. They kind of, stick to their own. Until they want to make legislation and show their numbers in force, then they claim to all be Christian, but really they're all, segmented. But, I mean, I guess the argument could kind of be made for that as far as atheism, because I've run into that personally, where people who are clearly atheists don't want to be identify as atheists. They either want to say they're humanist or agnostic or something, and that's kind of, I guess that's kind of a comparison in some way, but I totally see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, it's just that word has so much negative baggage. Hemant Mehta did a piece about what is an atheist and the negative connotations just with the word. It was very, very brilliant. He talked about how there's this picture that's been painted of how all atheists react, and obviously it's not true. I mean, we're a very diverse community. Not everyone is belligerent like me. There are plenty of other people out there, like our previous spotlight, Christy Winters, that kind of we get your attention, the angry ones, and then Christy Winters, she'll actually talk some real good points. And I mean, I'll speak on subjects that are very controversial, or they're kind of clickbaity, and you'll see that I'll do a skit or I'll have a good time and I'll make you angry probably, but it's those other people that really get you in there and kind of appeal to those reasons and sensibilities. But yeah, there's so many people that are just they're doubtful even. I know there are many theists that the seed of doubt has been planted and they've become a progressive, or they call themselves a moderate progressive or a progressive moderate, and they don't hold to the fundamental prospects, I'm going to say, the fundamental facets or tenets in their religion, and those people they have doubts, they have questions, and they turn to some of us. Some of us might not be the best people to turn to, and that's why I want to get these people out there. I want to get these projects and coalitions, and I want to get all these out there so we can, I'm sure you guys agree with me. That's why we were going over this tonight, but I really love these assets that are out there for everybody that will help people I'm not going to say think rationally, because there are many theists that think perfectly rationally, and there are many brilliant theists, but maybe that'll sate that curiosity, or will fill that void that many people are missing.
There's one thing I wanted to touch on, and that leads into it a little bit. But I've noticed that a lot of the really active, smaller organizations that say, for example, help the homeless, I think they do it from true morality. Like, whenever you see Christians helping anybody, they always want you to pray. They always want you to be part of their team. They always want something from you. They want you to join their church, their numbers, or whatever. And when atheists do it, there's no impetus for us to be like, oh, come over here and tell us how much you love Richard Dawkins, or say how bad Christianity is. It's just pure helping people with no strings attached is all I've ever seen,
Hail Sagan. If you're going to participate, you must hail Sagan. No, and organizations like that, like Atheist Giving Aid, the nonprofit organizations that provide disaster relief, and also not just that, they support local atheist organizations to be able to do philanthropic work in their community, to bring meals to the homeless. And I know that a lot of the organizations that we'll be talking about tonight are not just secular, but they're atheist. But there are also many secular organizations that do fairly the same thing. And if you go to the links that I provided in the description below this video, you'll see that there's a vast multitude. On the top two are just websites with resources for the coalitions that have all these organizations listed. But there are a bunch of secular organizations that do some of this similar work that just don't have a religious affiliation. I think that most nonprofits take that stance, But you're right, Matt. You will have that. You will have those organizations that they lead in prayer. I know a few people that have done charity work where they go and they build shelters for homeless people, or they'll give food, and they'll want to lead everyone in prayer before, and they'll want to lead everyone in prayer afterwards. They'll want to make you do it, and there's kind of that. There is that anxiety. If you don't do it, everyone's going to look at you bad because you're a bad person. Even though you're standing there with them and you want to help just as much as they do, you're obviously a piece of shit because you don't want to bow your head to whatever God they're praying to. And that's the kind of stigma that I hope that these organizations and us can help get rid of by talking about it and stuff.
Look, all I can say is what Matt was talking about. Anyone who does something for someone else or does a good deed because they think they're going to get something out of it is not doing a good deed in the first place. Anybody who does something nice to be rewarded is not doing anything nice. And speaking of, religious-related charity work, you'll notice in debates with secular people or atheists, that's one of the first points they'll bring up instead of defending their religion. Yeah, but look at all the charity work that my religion does. How can you, and that's not charity work. Charity work is doing something for someone else out of the goodness of your heart, expecting nothing in return.
Yeah, and then, you could also get into looking into how much money that churches actually take in, do they put towards charity. I'm sure there's some that are a lot better than others, but there are very many corrupt ones out there, and I think they actually have, you can look up the stats of how much they take in to how much actually is effective, and I think I don't know, I don't want to get into it, but I heard, I was researching other non-for-profits a little while ago, and I heard that some of them only reach up to 10%. That's a good score, and that actually goes to the helping people and whatnot. I don't know. So there's that too. There's corruption in these things, and I don't know.
Sure, you're going to have your guys like Joel Osteen, those kind of guys that really have huge, high-paying salaries to do the Lord's work. But I will say there are plenty of theists and churches and synagogues. There are plenty of religious institutions that do provide some great charity work, and I'm not knocking that. I don't want to knock that because there's so much good work that is and can still be done. I don't care if they do it. I don't care if they do it in the name of their God or not. However, on the side note, there are so many organizations like Earthward. Earthward is a non-profit, non-political, non-membership public benefit charity. They provide humanitarian relief aid to civilian victims of religiously motivated violence, or terrorist organizations that claim religious justification for their actions to full-scale holy wars engaged by religiously dominated governments, that kind of stuff. So Earthward is out there for those that have that they're victims of religiously motivated violence, those hate crimes, those non-religious hate crimes. So in those facets, there are plenty of organizations like that, or atheists giving aid, or that are out there to provide those things. I would say you guys may be onto something, that there could be some alternate motivation, kind of some selfish service. They think that I'm doing all these good works, I'm going to get into heaven, these good deeds. And there are a whole bunch of people, in my opinion, if they want to believe that doing all this good stuff is going to get them into heaven, they can go ahead and do all that good stuff because they're helping someone else. As long as they're not causing harm or oppression while doing it, I could care less.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but a lot of times they are causing the harm. Like you said, we have to make secular organizations to help victims of religious harm, at war and terrorism due to religion. So I guess they're just kind of making up for the harm they do.
I'm not saying that religion is good. I'm just saying that religious people can do good.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. As long as they're doing something good, that's great.
Yeah, I don't mind if you cherry pick to do good. Just know that I'm going to point out you're cherry picking. That's all. I'm going to do it. Let's see. Did you want to talk about the Clergy Project, Iron, or did you want me to?
You know what? Why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yeah, sure, no problem. The Clergy Project is another one I wanted to bring up. It's a confidential online community. Confidential is the word that I'd like to highlight there. for active and former professional clergy and religious leaders who do not hold supernatural beliefs. The reason I want to highlight that is because, it is my opinion that we are continuing to see the growing population in the non-religious community. So that means that there are individuals inside of the church that do not hold those beliefs that continue to attend for one reason or another. And those might be clergy and religious leaders. We probably have many clergy out there that do not believe anymore, and they wrestle with their doubt. They wrestle with that. So the Clergy Project is where they can go and confidentially ask questions, talk with other clergy members, and receive support in their doubt, which is that's great. I mean, that's a great resource for them to do, and that link also is in the description below.
Yeah, this is amazing service. Real quick, the ghost of Sir Jewel says he doesn't care if Christian people are doing good. They should stop the religion and just do the charity, and the world will be better off. I think I interpret that correctly. But anyways, I just wanted to give him a voice real quick. But yeah, the Clergy Project is amazing. I think we brought it up on one of our shows. It might have been Atheism in the Workplace, but the fact that there are current clergy members who are an atheist, but the way their system is set up is they have no way out. They're basically trapped in there, and they need help from an outside source, because these clergy, they're provided a home. Their whole education up to this point has been for this. They do have a lot of skills, but it's hard to see when you're in it that those skills can transfer to something else. Like, I think one of the people who now works for the Clergy Project, I forget who it was. It used to be it was a woman, I believe. I could be getting this mixed up, but they were a preacher, and they were so scared of getting out. When the Clergy Project helped them out, they realized they did have a lot of skills that could work for other things, like people skills, like organizational skills. I think they became like an event planner or something like that, but you don't see that when you're in there. All you see is the church is providing me with a house. They're providing me with my whole family is religious. All my friends are religious. I have to keep towing the line and going up on the podium and spewing things I don't believe in. And with that in mind, I had this little hobby for a while of listening to Christian radio, and I would listen to the pastor speak, and I would try to guess which ones of them are atheists. And I can't remember the name of one of them I listened to, but almost every sermon he would put on, you could tell he was just trying to say nice things without invoking God. And I'm like, I bet you anything that guy's an atheist. He's just stuck in the position. So I feel for those people, but yeah, it's amazing what they're doing. So I don't know if anyone else has anything.
No, but I think that's Iron might. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. I just felt the need to point out, and it may be self-evident, but the fact that there is organizations that one of their main points is that everything is confidential. The fact that that exists should, first of all, show everyone how much control religious people have in this country. And I can't speak for anyone else, but that's why I'm so angry at religion. That's why I come across so hostile, because of things like that. People should be able to express their views, and it shouldn't be such a situation where you have to be stuck there. The fact that you're stuck there is evil in itself. I mean, that's like if you got a job and somebody said you can never leave this job, and then down the road you realize you don't agree with the ethics of the position that you're in. That is evil in itself.
Yeah, I want to touch on something else, but real quick, I totally agree with you. And crap, where was I going?
It's all right. So before we go any farther, Moosegal has a type-in, Moosegal has a type-in, guy in the chair, I like your t-shirt. LOL.
Yeah. So, okay. Thanks, Moose Gal. Or do you want to say thanks, Guy?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. I mean, I've heard so many people knock this show. I don't understand why people knock it, but that's off topic, so I'll shut up now. Thank you.
I
No,
don't
that
even know
that
what it
shirt
is.
that shirt is so cute.
What is it? Soft Kitty? What?
Big Bang Theory. It's a Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I never watched that.
Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur.
So, uh, the ghost of Sir Jewelot says Moose Gal Funky Cold Medina. I don't know what that means. Well, I know what Funky Cold Medina is. I don't know why he's saying that to you. So, anyways, I want to say on the control of religion and how hard it is for these people to get out. It is really scary. But the other side of that is, you talk to any Christian, and the tables are turned on that. They say they are oppressed, and that the atheist entertainment and the atheist media and the atheist colleges and everything's atheist, and they're oppressing them. When we make up, like, if we're lucky, 2 to 3% out atheists, like claiming to be an atheist of this country, and we're the ones oppressing them with our media, it's laughable. I was reading about it today, and like any way they can spin it, they spin it to make it look like they're oppressed, and it's insane. But I wanted to say, as far as the clergy project, I think I heard of something about. I wonder if you guys know about it. It's about like finding psychiatric help, like therapists and stuff like that, who are atheists, but it's a site that's totally hidden, and you don't know the person, their name and stuff like that, until you agree to meet. I might have dreamed that up, but I'm pretty sure that exists. But I wish that there were more things like that, like an Angie's List for finding secular people, to like a roofer or something who's secular, because the churches provide that service for these people. Like, I can't tell you how many bosses I had who go to church just so they can have childcare and just so they can network and take advantage of little old ladies and whatnot at their church, just to get work and put on this front that they're like, you know what I mean, this holy person. Where if we could do that in a secular way and an actual moral way where we're not taking advantage of people, it'd be great if there's a website for that.
Kind of like the secular Angie's List.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Angie's List is probably secular, right?
I was going to say, isn't Angie's List just secular?
Yeah, but I mean, those Christians are looking for like good Christian men to come work on their house, like Jesus was a carpenter and all that bullshit.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Speaking of current events, this is kind of interesting. So I know I talked about the FFRF earlier, and this one was Big Mountain Jesus. Big Mountain Jesus! The War Memorial, and the 6-foot-tall statue was erected in 1954 by the Knights of Columbus. 1954, that kind of rings a bell. It's like our money was printed with one nation, in God we trust. I think that was around that time. The 50s were a great time for religious monuments and printing. So the Knights of Columbus worked with the veterans from the Army's 10th Mountain Division, which is great because, Department of Defense, to commemorate their comrades who died fighting for freedom, especially those honoring Americans who lost their lives fighting the Italian Alps, because Jesus is a huge supporter of the troops. But in 2013, the Knights won the case in trial court, and FFRF appealed it, going a little bit farther. U.S. Justice Department Attorney Joan Pepin said that the statue has local historical significance, like Matt was saying. Anything that they can do in any way they can spin it to win their point. I mean, that's just, propaganda 101. And they continue to argue this point The Forest Service no more endorsing religion than it is endorsing the speech by the ski resort on the same public land. They go back and forth on it. I know that from the legal standpoint, the ghost of Sir Juilot says it's an all-or-nothing proposition, either endorse all religions or none. All of our crap conservative religious law bullshit that idiot rednecks think the country was founded. I should really pre-read this before I say it out loud. But, yeah, all that stuff came about in the 50s, and it wasn't just, I mean, there was a huge religious push for that in the Northeast. It wasn't just the South. The South has a history, of course, but it was all across the United States, including the Northeast, to put all of this stuff forward, and the Northeast is historically more conservative on most issues. So
as for the term redneck, I don't even know how that's a banner of pride. It's like all you did to get your neck red was stand out in the sun. I would rather be a dirt neck because you actually got dirty and did something. It's like, whatever.
Well, maybe they're just getting dirty from the waist down. Maybe mudding doesn't require you getting your neck dirty.
And the ghost of Sir Juilot claims that they'll get skin cancer, apparently only on the back of their neck, and maybe they'll grow huge tumors. I don't know.
I don't know.
See, if you were a dirt neck, the dirt would be like SPF 50,
or if
and
you were like a
block the
werewolf,
sunlight, dude.
If you were like a werewolf neck, you'd just be really furry and wouldn't have sunburn at all.
Yeah.
So,
or a Jew
this is current event.
Matzo balls on your fucking.
What? Okay, we're not. That's enough of that. So, that was my story lately from Big Mountain Jesus. We're continuing to talk about it. That's something that continues to happen. So, I mean, it's just stuff like this that FFRF does, and they're one of the organizations that we highlighted. They continue.
Yeah,
these
I
battles.
heard about that story this week, and it's just stupid. You know?
Yeah, they've reappealed it to try to bring more light into it. And
what was it? The Knights of Columbus that put it up there?
Yeah, it was the Knights of Columbus and the 10th Mountain Division to put that up there.
What are the? I've heard of the Knights of Columbus before, and they do a lot of charity work. I guess it's something to talk about here on the topic, but like, what the hell are they? I know they're a bunch of fat old white men that like do charity work, but that's all I know. Like, what's their goal? Are they a non-for-profit or what is it?
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
The Knights of Columbus is an organization in the community. They generally do, in my experience, I've seen them do a lot of 4-H funding. They do a lot of that kind of work, but they've worked hand in hand a lot with the Masons and what some people would call the Masonic Illuminati satanic cult, I think. Anyways, there's a lot of tinfoil. There's a lot of tinfoil hat wearing people that would believe the Knights of Columbus, the Masons, all those people.
So, I mean, the guys in the funny tinfoil hat don't like the guys in the funny fedora, or what is it? No, fez or whatever.
Yeah, those are the Shriners, man.
The
Shriners are a sect of the Masons.
It's just a bunch of guys in funny hats, right?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of guys in funny hats that ride around on tiny little motorcycles and put on a show for the kids. I mean, they do charity work in the community.
I just think it's weird that they're called the Knights of Columbus. It's like, is that a religious context or like, it's like almost deceiving. It's like they're going around doing things and then you find out they're religious. I just never realized they were really religious until recently. That's why I was wondering about it.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of the oldest organizations in our society are religious. Those are the ones that have continued to...
Yeah, actually, the Masons, I've heard you have to believe in some type of creator. It doesn't have to be God, but you have to believe in a creator to be one of the Masons, apparently.
That's correct. You do have to believe in a creator of the universe, regardless of whether it's Yahweh or Allah or any of them. Or you just, the ghost of Sir Juilot says, or just say you do. Yeah, it's not like they're going to hook you up to a lie detector test, I'm guessing. I don't know, but you know, there's always that. Let's see. I think unless anyone has anything pressing they'd like to say, it might be time to spin the wheel. Yeah, I know, that's Matt's favorite part of the show. It is kind of fun. So what, if you've never seen this before, Matt, the apoplectic atheist, is going to go grab the scripture wheel. He's going to spin it. You're going to hear all the little sounds coming through, every tick of the wheel, and it stops, and he's going to read the scripture. He's going to do his best to allow the scripture to stay in sight of the camera, since we've had a few instances where they were extremely relevant, coincidentally. And ready, Matt, spin the wheel!
A good one.
If you notice, he was getting kind of antsy there to spin the wheel. He really wanted to do it. All right, so he's keeping it in view.
How do I keep it in? How do I keep it in? This is hard to do.
Okay, it's in view right now. It's in view right now. Still in view. There you go. Not that. Yay! Yeah, it stayed in view the whole time. All right.
I'm not cheating. I'll bet you $20 it's from Leviticus.
Well, I'm sure most of them there are. You put them on the wheel. So.
Oh, let's see. No, it's not. It's not Leviticus. It's not Leviticus. Ready? The Lord was with the army of Judah, and they captured the hill country, but did not expel the inhabitants of the valley because they were equipped with iron chariots. Yeah! Judges 1:19.
And you know what they did when they conquered that mountain? They erected a giant mountain Jesus when they conquered the mountain. That's what they did.
You said erected.
And Jesus. So there's always that. Yeah, I think that they were in cahoots, if you will, with the 10th mountain when they, and the Knights of Columbus, and put up Big Mountain Jesus.
I don't get why chariots were such a viable war machine. It's like you could just throw a stick in between their spokes and fuck them up, you know?
Have you ever tried to throw a stick between the spokes of a bicycle?
Yeah, I guess it didn't work too good, right? I did put baseball cards in my bicycle spokes. I wonder if they did that with the chariots.
Well, I mean, just think of how much we use automobiles today, and how effective that would be as a utility. The ghost of Sir Julat said it was hard to get to the chariots. Well, they're also moving pretty fast. It's not like you're going to shoot them. So they could outrun ballistas.
Yeah, they could carry a lot more armaments because of the, you know what I mean, got more carrying capacity.
There were other parts of the army, but the chariots themselves, at least some of the flashier chariots, were meant as more of like a dignitarial ride. Or some of like a commander or something like that.
So I mean, I would think like if you're fighting against an iron chariot, why don't you just kill the horse? Well, the horse isn't made of iron.
Well, Yahweh is afraid of iron chariots, if you remember. So everyone would want to have iron chariots because that's the one thing that, you know, one of the things that it was his kryptonite. Really, it was the iron.
That's why we got one here.
That's why we got one here. We have our anti-Yahweh iron chariot. You want to weigh in on your anti-Yahweh powers?
Yeah. Okay. I'm in a wheelchair, and I know that's a lot different than a chariot, but let me just say, I've had people throw large sticks and brooms and other things in my spokes from a pretty lengthy distance, and I would, you know, I've been going down hills before and flipped all the way out of the wheelchair down the hill and, you know, around the corner and shit. So it's difficult, but I've seen and felt people do it. So it's definitely possible.
Well, as funny as it might have been to see you particularly fall down a hill out of your wheelchair, how fast were you actually going when they threw a broomstick through the spokes of your wheelchair? Because if you were going at the speed of, what, 2 or 3 horses pulling it, I'm not going to read that. So I'm going to guess that you were probably sitting still or moving fairly slow. You weren't moving with the speed of 2 or 3 horses.
No, I definitely wasn't, but there was a time going down a hill that resulted in a fairly gnarly concussion. That one was actually an accident, but I was probably going a good 5-10 miles an hour down the hill, and I passed out right in the middle of the road. So I'm just saying, especially with the armor, and if you have somebody who's like riding a chariot while trying to take out another chariot, if they can match speeds or get close to, it would be very possible. I just find it funny that somebody could give me a concussion going down a hill, but it was too much for God to handle.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was the iron or if it was the speed. I'm not sure what it was about the actual chariot that was his kryptonite. That I don't know. I've never had that explained to me. Every time I bring it up, I'm told that it's rhetorical. So I don't know exactly what it is.
Maybe that was like a death metal band in the area called the Iron Chariot, and they were Satanists, and God was scared of them.
Oh shit. Well, then that brings up the question though too, since well, since iron was such a widely used metal at the time, I'd like to know what they made the silverware out of at the Last Supper, because if God doesn't like iron, then, and I don't think aluminum was refined enough. I could be wrong. I know nothing, but I just find it funny that the most widely used resource probably wasn't used for silverware at the Last Supper.
You know, I'm guessing at such a a high class engagement, it was probably a silver.
Well, you're probably right, because Jesus was about to die, so why not have the last dinner you can with the best silverware you possibly
But then again, he was supposed to be poor, so he probably just used like wood. Maybe it was made of wood.
Maybe that's why he turned the water into wine, so he wouldn't notice all the splinters in his mouth.
Well, not just that. Maybe he turned the water into wine because he couldn't afford wine. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Maybe none of the disciples could afford wine, and that was his kind of thing. Maybe he just turned it into the wine to make everyone feel a little bit better about being poor.
I think it was because the water was usually stagnant and poisoned.
Oh, maybe it was like copper, very copper or like iron laden, maybe. Yeah.
Or dysentery or whatnot,
Yeah, red mud. Maybe.
When you turn it into alcohol, it kind of is better for you, I think, than dysentery.
You just ferment it. How do you ferment mud? I think we've digressed here. Let's see. Do we want to read this last note from the, not the very last note, but the segue note from the Ghost of Sir Juilot that you were talking about earlier, Matt?
I don't remember the advantages of being a werewolf.
No, I'm talking about it kind of leads into our spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, if it leads in. Real quick, I'll say Moose Gal let us know it's called the Secular Therapist Project, and they have a website, that website that I thought I might have been dreaming of, but it is a real thing, so just so you guys know I'm not crazy. Sorry.
I still believe that you're crazy. But yeah, no, thanks Moose Gal for letting us know that. That's awesome. Catholics have the Knights of Columbus. When I was Catholic, they'd mention them at church. That's what Moose Gal said. So thank you for commenting in there, Moose Gal. We really appreciate it. And Iron, do you have anything else? Any closing comments?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. So the Ghost of Sir Juilot, if he would stop commenting and pulling the feed down. The Ghost of Sir Juilot, who's haunting this show, wanted to add the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. It's a very big player in the atheist community. In 2014, it joined several similar organizations to include the Secular Coalition of America. Actually, they're one of the signing members on that, including the Stifle Free Thought Foundation, Secular Student Alliance, and the Secular Coalition for America, which is what I was talking about before, to form Openly Secular, an initiative which aims to combat and draw attention to anti-atheist discrimination and to encourage more people to openly self-identify as irreligious. I think I said that the way that he would say it, except quicker. So, yes, he is 100% correct. And that brings us to our Atheist Spotlight, which is the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. The Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, they have a YouTube channel. Why I love them and why they're awesome, like Sir Juilot, or the ghost, rather, of Sir Juilot was saying, how very prominent they are in the community, talking about being openly secular, trying to remove that stigma of being secular, try to help everyone identify in that way. They're really great. I can read their mission real quick, even though they're very huge, but the mission of the Richard Dawkins Foundation is to promote scientific literacy and a secular worldview. Some might see this as two distinct missions, teaching the value of science and advancing secularism. Those are the two major goals. They're huge on LGBTQ rights, women's equality. They are very much against religious extremism, and they continue to post videos on YouTube. So in our Atheist Spotlight section on the right-hand side of our channel, I will be updating that with the Richard Dawkins Foundation channel link so that you can go there and watch their videos. And you can even read Richard Dawkins' letters. People write letters to him, mostly hateful, saying, calling him a piece of shit and Satan and all that, and he reads them out loud in front of the camera just to show the ridiculousness of the situation that sometimes not only him but the rest of us are faced as well. Mooscal wants to weigh in again. Oh, look, the God Delusion. Mooscal wants to weigh in. The Knights of Columbus is the world's largest Catholic fraternal service organization, founded by is Father Michael J. McGivney in New Haven, Connecticut in 1882. Thank you, Mooscal, for the insight into the history of the Knights of Columbus. The Richard Dawkins Foundation just continues to proliferate those ideas. I love them. It's great. There's always a new fact out there, and they're always speaking out for many of the causes that we talk about in our show. Would any of the two of you like to talk about the Richard Dawkins Foundation?
Yeah, those videos he makes where he reads his letters are hilarious because he's doing it in that like British voice, and he's just like sitting there like I don't know, this is funny. Like one, I think he was like sitting in front of a fireplace or something. It like looked like it was like Christmas time. I don't know. It's kind of funny. Also, they're doing this thing on their website now where they're like promoting YouTubers and stuff like that. Like me personally, I'm not really a fan of Cult of Dusty, and I follow their Richard Dawkins Foundation on YouTube, and they kept posting Cult of Dusty videos. I'm like, why do they love Cult of Dusty so much? I like got mad and started commenting. I'm like, stop promoting this guy. Like, promote someone else. And then I realized I only noticed those. It was my bias because I didn't like him, but they were promoting other people at the same time, like just as frequently. I just happened to see the one I didn't like. But anyways, so I went to their site, and yeah, they have a section on their site for like famous YouTubers, basically, which hopefully someday we'll be on there, but I don't know about that. But anyways.
Yeah, Jacqueline Glenn gets a lot of forwarding as well. They're highlighting the prominent members of the community, which is why we continue to attempt to highlight, at least in our conversation, if not in the spotlight, some of the lesser knowns.
So all we need to do is get a hot chick on here and start doing the piss tax, and we'll be good. We'll get on Richard Dawkins' site. Sorry, that's my own inside joke.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one with the 20-foot pole. Iron, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Only thank you, Mr. Apoplectic Atheist, for getting all the internet feminists on our tail.
What? How did I do that?
All we need is a hot chick to get views. Yeah.
Yeah, Jacqueline Glenn.
All we need let's get a hot chick and people will notice us. People don't notice us because we're dudes, but if we had a chick on here...
Dude, I'm for equality. I'm trying to get a chick in here. You're the ones who want it to be a sausage party.
I never actually said. It's just you two were the most available. Apparently, you have the least amount going on.
Don't call me sir. You remind me of the guy who asked me to buy him cigarettes out in front of the convenience store earlier.
And by guy, you mean 12-year-old. With what you meant. I'm guessing you said no.
Yeah, I said no. But I felt bad because people did it for me when I was a kid.
Excuse me, sir. Can you buy me Newport, sir?
I just backhanded him and said, shut up, bitch.
Okay, no, he did not. No, I don't believe he did that.
Great, so now we're womanizers and child abusers. How far can we go?
No, we're not. He was acting in self-defense. And he was just actually pointing out the sexism in society is what it was. Is he was pointing out that there is a notable amount of sexism that exists and that he probably feels a little accosted because he's a neckbeard. That's probably what it is. He's a little bit of a neckbeard, and he doesn't think that he's attractive enough, but you are, Matt. You are attractive, and people do like you.
Well, that's a matter of opinion. Don't speak for me.
I mean, I don't, but there are people that like you. Yeah, and Sir Jewela is correct. He is ugly as shit. Yeah, he just said that. So I'm going to agree with him. Oh, okay.
I was just kidding anyway. I was just trying to be funny. Whatever.
No, it's all right. So if no one has anything else, nothing? 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone, I would like to thank everyone who is watching the show. I really appreciate you coming, as well as I know the rest of the clerics appreciate you showing up tonight and watching Reality's Breakdown as we discuss non-profits. I hope that you continue to enjoy our content, or not, actually. If you hate, please write comments under this video so that we can argue with you a little bit. Or say nice things so that we can agree, because, you know, whatever. But anyways, everyone, thank you for showing up tonight, and deuces.